Good evening, everybody. So I'm Nishimura. So I'm basically an epidemiological person as well as a CGM person. So in the first part, I'll tell you, what our findings is about the treatment of diabetes in the first part. And latter part, I will devote most of my time in findings, especially using SGLT2i inhibitor Luseogliflozin. So let's start. So this is my disclosures. So first of all, my question is hemoglobin A1C truly a valid marker for the prediction of diabetes complications? So I apologize start with very complicated slide. So as you can see, so these are the major clinical studies. So, and as you all know, in intervention arm, the mean hemoglobin A1C is 7th in the UKPDS. In accord advanced validity, they are, hemoglobin A1C in the 6th. So the difference between the hemoglobin A1C with the conventional arm is almost like from 0.7 to 1.5%. And especially in accord and validity, the difference was made by the insulin therapy. And let's look at the outcomes. So if you see the microvascular complications, so this is, in the intervention period, and this is extension period. So as you can see, if you succeeded in, make the A1C difference by 1%, you will be succeeded in preventing microvascular complications. But if you look at the CVD, this hemoglobin A1C difference means almost nothing. And what is worse is if you look at, mortality due to CVD, in ACCORD study, if you achieve hemoglobin A1C of 6.4, makes, significantly increase mortality due to CVD compared to the group of hemoglobin A1C of 7.5. Do you know what makes the difference? I believe all of you know, maybe hypoglycemia. So let's move to CGM. So this is, these are available CGMs in Japan. And so I'll show you the 2 patient CGM for 2 weeks. So patient A, patient B. And can you guess which patient A1C is better or not? Can you guess? So I will not ask you. So be relaxed. I will not point you. So can you guess? So the answer is exactly the same. The reason is that, this black line shows the average glucose. So average glucose is around 160. So as long as, average glucose is the same, the hemoglobin A1C is the same. But, what's the problem of the hemoglobin A1C is cannot tell the difference between of the glucose fluctuation between patient A and patient B. Patient A has very dangerous, hypoglycemia below 50, 7 times in 2 weeks. And also very high hyperglycemia over 350, 8 times per 2 weeks, okay? But if you see patient B, no hypo. But as long as you stick to hemoglobin A1C, you cannot tell the difference. And this is my opinion, not from the study, but I believe in the ACCORD study, they try to get down the hemoglobin A1C to increase aggressively insulin dosage. And I believe, what ACCORD made is make, patient A as many as possible, maybe. That's my opinion. And then next, so what is the ideal treatment, ideal drug treatment? I will move to the ADA ESD, guidelines. So this is the latest one. And if you see this algorithm, so ADA and ESD, so their algorithm are based on Caucasian. very obese population. So they concentrated on just weight management as well as glycemic goals. So so as an Asian, so we are Asians. So as an Asian, I don't comfortable with this, algorithm. So let's move to Japanese algorithm. So which was published 3 years before. So this is the main part of our algorithm. So if you type 2s, first you need to determine there is indication for insulin therapy. If no, move to the hemoglobin A1C goals. So if the patient is young enough, maybe your target would be the hemoglobin A1C of 6.5. But if the patient age is over 80 and healthy, maybe, and has a dementia, maybe his goal may be hemoglobin A1C of 8. Then move to the main part. So here is our, virtue of our algorithm. So for Asians, we divide the patient to, lean patient and obese patient. For lean patient, we recommend DPP4 and biganide. And also for obese patient, biganide, SGLT2 inhibitors, and GLP-1 receptor agonist. But maybe in the near future, so I'm a member of this writing team. So maybe from our evidence, we may consider adding SGLT2 to this lean patient population as well. And let's move to the trends and forecast of the diabetes drug market in Japan. So this is fiscal year 2013, and here 2025. So as you will see, the DPP4 inhibitor, the share is keeping top, but stays the same from the 2013 to 2015. But you will see the dramatic increase of SGLT2 inhibitor after the EMPA-REG. EMPA-REG was published in 2014, and after that, the share of the SGLT2 inhibitor dramatically increased, and the year 2023, the share of the SGLT2 inhibitor become #1 in Japan. So let's move to the Japanese market of the SGLT2 inhibitors. So as you can see, you have DAPA, CANA, EMPA in Vietnam, but we have 3 more Japanese original SGLT2 inhibitors. So which is IPRA, TOFO, and Luseogliflozin. And let's move to the clinical future of the Luseogliflozin. And this is clinical dosage of SGLT2 inhibitors. You will see there is a huge difference in clinical dosage. And you recognize that the clinical dosage of Luseogliflozin is the smallest. The reason is that the pharmacological activity of the Luseogliflozin is the strongest in these SGLT2 inhibitors. That's one feature. Let's move to next. And also, there is another key feature in Luseogliflozin. This is the number of the metabolizing enzymes. So Luseogliflozin was metabolized by 5, enzymes, and other competitors were metabolized by 1 to 3, enzymes. So which means, Luseogliflozin was excreted through urine and bile, half and half. You will see other competitors, the ratio is not half and half. And this make a huge difference. Let's see the, drug exposure change increase in special populations, which is renal impairment and hepatic impairment. So, Luseogliflozin was metabolized by 5 enzymes and exposed by bile and renal, half and half. So that in these special, patients, you will see very little AUC change compared to other competitors, which may, so this means that you can use Luseogliflozin in renal impairment as well as hepatic impairment patient. And now Lusefi is available in Vietnam. And I'll show you the price. So I believe you are lucky enough because in Japan, DABA, EMPA, Luseogliflozin, you have to pay the same price. I was so surprised to see this data because the price of the Luseogliflozin is almost 2/3 of other competitors. And so from now on, so I will share the clinical data of the Luseogliflozin from Japan. No, this is crossover CGM study, Luceo placebo or placebo Luseogliflozin arm and CGM was conducted in a hospitalization setting. So this is crossover study. So their mean age is like 60 years old, and their mean BMI is 24.4, and their disease duration is 6.8 years, and their mean hemoglobin A1C is 7.8, and this is main result. So this is the CGM curve during the placebo treatment plus SD, and this is CGM curve on a Luseogliflozin period minus SD. And if you see the area over the 180, the area is statistically smaller in the Luseogliflozin treatment. And what I like to emphasize is no hypoglycemia. I check all the participant data because I'm a PI. But Luseogliflozin do not cause hypoglycemia by monotherapy. Okay? And if you look at the timing range, so this is a timing range during the placebo treatment. So but already exceeds 70%, so which is 72%. But during the Luseogliflozin treatment, the increment was almost like 12%, and increase was significantly, positive. And if you see the serum insulin during the treatment, so during the Luseogliflozin treatment, serum insulin level is lower, so which is safe and protective for patient pancreas. And let's move to post-marketing surveillance study. So all these SGLT2 conducted post-marketing study. So number is pretty huge, from 6,000 to 12,000. And Luseogliflozin's post-market surveillance study was conducted in 12,000 patients, which is pretty large. Okay. And this is a patient background. So more than 80% of the participant hemoglobin A1C is over 7. And also, like 20% is a lean patient. So I mean below the BMI of 25. And this is the main outcome. So if you see the hemoglobin A1C change in the younger than 65 years old, so their starting hemoglobin A1C is 8.5, and their hemoglobin A1C statistically go down from 1 month and stays going down, and in 2 years, their hemoglobin A1C is 7.33, and for elderly, and their hemoglobin A1C statistically, decreased from 1 month, and then keep same hemoglobin A1C, and in two years, their hemoglobin A1C is 7.11. And this is a change in the EGFR. This slide is a bit complicated. And if their GFR is between 45 to 60, their GFR increased by 6 months and stays the same for 2 years. And if their GFR is below 45, there is no change in GFR for 2 years. So it's safe in terms of GFR. So let's move to healthcare claim data. So this is what we call, real world evidence. So in this database, we use 12,000 patients. Okay. So in 12,000 patients, you will see EMPA, DABA, CANA, users is around 2,000 to 2,500 patients are DAPA-CANA EMPA users. And these were compared with other SGLT2 inhibitor users. So out of 5,000, 1,000 patients using Luseogliflozin. So this analysis, the outcome is decrease in EGFR rate more than 30%. And if you set empagliflozin as a reference, there is no interactions. So it means, so there may be no difference by the, which SGLT2 inhibitor you may use. And next, same things we have conducted and see the cardiovascular outcomes. In this study, so 25,000 patients were registered. So in this study, as you can see, EMPA DAPA-CANA users is around from 4,000 to 5,000 patients, and other SGLT2 inhibitors are almost like 10,000. So in 10,000 patients, there is 2,500 Luseogliflozin users. And if you see the heart failure and empagliflozin is a reference, there is no interactions. And if you see the myocardial infarctions, there is no interactions at all. And if you see the angina pectoris, there is no interaction at all. And if you see the stroke, there is no interaction at all. And if you see the AF, atrial fibrillation, there is no interaction at all. So this means, so from this database, claim database analysis mentions that, as long as, we stick to the health claim data, there may be no difference among SGLT2 inhibitors in terms of kidney outcome and CVD outcomes. Okay? And finally, let's see, is there any difference between the outcomes in Luseogliflozin or DPP4 inhibitors? So this study is prospective RCT. So patients were, randomly allocated to Luseogliflozin or DPP4 inhibitors. And what is interesting of this study is the endpoint is composite endpoint of hemoglobin A1C and weight reduction, GFR increase, systolic pressure decrease, and pulse rate decrease. And this is a patient summary. So their age is almost like 57 to 58. A1C is 7.7 or 7.6. So this is the main outcome of each 5, outcomes. So with regard to A1C, there is no difference between the Luseogliflozin and DPP4 inhibitor. But if you see the weight reduction over 3%, so more than half of the participants decrease the weight more than 3% in the Luseogliflozin arm. But if you see the DPP4 arm less than 20, makes a weight reduction. And the main outcome of this study is that make 3 out of 5 of these endpoint, and this is the endpoint. So if you take Luseogliflozin, almost like 60% makes the 3 out of 5 endpoints. What I like to emphasize at the end of my presentation is this slide. So if you divide this patient by BMI, so lean or obese, there is no difference. More patient in the Luseogliflozin makes endpoint. And if you divide the patient by age, young, older, Luseogliflozin doing better. Maybe if you choose Luseogliflozin, makes a better outcome. That is the main message of this study. So this is the last part of my presentation. Again. So I envy you again because your price of the Luseogliflozin is much cheaper than DAPA EMPA, and almost as same price as the DPP4 inhibitor, maybe cheap. So I believe there is plenty of reason to use Luseogliflozin in Vietnam. So this is the last slide. And also now, for diabetologists, I would like to mention that now you have Luseogliflozin maybe with Luseogliflozin, you will provide the cheap SGLT2 inhibitors with lots of evidence from Japan. Thank you very much.